If I get very drunk, I tend to take all my clothes off.
Good to see that finally a storm's got a nice British name.
That's a crap name, that.
Yeah, well, at least it's British.
No, it's not.
Albert is a British name.
Well, he wasn't British.
Are you saying Bert's not a British name?
British when she married the German
Albert
bloke.
is not
Is
necessarily
Bert?
a British name.
It's called Storm Bert. It's not called Storm Albert. What are you talking about?
Was there an unnecessary
Mark,
warning?
is Bert a British name or not?
Why do you need to have
I
it to be
think
proved
since
right?
she married the German, it then became...
What are you talking about?
And they said, would you like a bag? And I said, yes. And they went, that'll be 30 pence. And I went, I'm spending about 150 quid.
Yeah.
Why am I paying for a bag?
Santa's grotto was full of trans women.
This is like a sort of synopsis for a 70s sitcom.
It is. It really is.
Continuing the battle against all things woke, Kev.
Yes, I'd like to rail against woke adverts, particularly at this time of year when we get this avalanche of really, really infuriating Christmas commercials that fly in the face of everything that Christmas is supposed to be. But before we get to the Yuletide offerings this year, we should, of course, talk about Jaguar, or Jaguar, as they say in America.
Well, should we have a look at it
Let's have a
first?
look at the new commercial for Jaguar.
What's that about?
Well, it's supposed to be about a car. There are some photographic versions of that where you can just about see the corner of this very angular, hideous-looking vehicle. So it looks as if they're going to throw away the beauty of the Jaguar.
They've got rid of the badge, haven't they?
Yeah,
so the picture,
and the badge,
you know, the head of the Jaguar, the actual big
the growler.
cat,
Was that?
Yeah,
Was that?
the growler's gone, and it's going to be two kind of J's like that. The point about
I don't
this...
think it was a growler.
It's
That's
called a
something
growler.
completely
It's called
different.
the growler.
That's what they call it.
It's called
Is it
the
a
growler.
growler?
Get with the
Growler.
programme,
It is.
Mark.
I thought that's
It's
what Denise Van
2024.
Outen
What's wrong
wanted
with
people
you?
to look at on a balcony.
No, it's called a growler. But now it's going to be a couple of J's like that. It looks hideous. It's very Art Deco-ish, and those people look like they're from Mars. And let me tell you that Jaguar, which is saying challenge all molds, you know, break mold, be different, copy nothing, yeah, groovy, groovy.
Mess
They've got
up
a
your
new
brand.
brand manager in,
Yeah.
just like Anheuser-Busch got a new brand manager in to promote Bud Light. Remember that? Dylan Mulvaney, the trans woman, became the face of Bud Light, and it very broke the
Do you
company.
mean Dylan Mulvaney, the bloke?
Yeah, the bloke.
As opposed
the
to the
trans
trans
woman bloke.
Sorry.
And it very nearly busted the company.
It did.
They had to go back, so they had to make adverts, quickly make some adverts of blokes sitting on verandas talking about football. Anyway, so that's bad enough. But now, of course, it's Christmas time.
Yeah, but hold on, just before you go on to that, off the back of that advert, seemingly, shares have collapsed in
Yeah,
Jaguar.
I mean, let me tell you, they will ditch this advertising campaign in a panic within probably a month, certainly by 2 months.
They'll get their growler out.
The head of Jaguar came out and said, you know, I don't like the fact that Nigel Farage has come out and said Jaguar are going to go bust as a result of this. He said, we don't need customers like that. I happen to know that Nigel Farage drives in a Jaguar Land Rover product, which is called a Range Rover.
Yeah.
So they don't want people like him, who are the people who can afford to buy their cars.
Yeah, and Jaguars are beautiful as well. And the brand manager that they brought in...
Why did they get rid of that? Did
Well,
they feel, was it too aggressive? Was the
Well,
Jaguar
yeah,
too
no, but it's all-
aggressive?
look,
Sorry, the growler.
It's all to
inclusive
do with they brought this gay guy in from America. He is now in charge of branding, head of branding at Jaguar. And he says that Jaguar is very proud to support the LGBTQT plus community. They're very proud of the DEI initiatives that they've set up, diversity, equality and inclusivity. And, you know, great, all for all of that. But what the hell has it got to do with a car?
Since when
What's
have
it
you
got to do
been,
with a
since
car?
when have you been all
When have you
for
been
all
all
that?
for
I don't care
You're
about...
not all for it, are you?
I don't...
You're not all for it, are you?
Well,
no,
I don't really
just say you're not.
I don't really give a shit.
You're not.
Well, I'm not. All right, I'm not.
He's not.
I'm not.
Thank
But,
you.
but I
Thank
don't
you.
really give much.
Thank God
of a
we
shit. I don't really give
That
much
was
of a shit.
Right.
And just as an example of the Christmas adverts, the Boots advert features an actress called Adjoa Andoe.
That's easy for you to
She
say.
was a Bridgerton actress.
I didn't know she was an actress.
Yeah, she's an actress.
I thought she was just a polemicist.
No. She was actress in Bridgerton, famous for, on the day of the coronation, she was on ITV's panel and she looked at the balcony and saw all the royal family standing there for the picture and said, trouble with that balcony is it's far too white. Yeah, well, it is the British royal family, you know. I mean, what do you expect?
Hideously white.
Yeah, hideously white. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, this
unlike the ITV panel.
So
I mean,
this
look,
advert,
they're working that in at the moment, but it's going to take a couple of generations. Well, I mean, you can't change that overnight.
Well, they did try. Hardly. Did try it with Meghan Markle. It didn't work out too well.
I don't think the Meghan experiment's working out. But also, this advert it features Father Christmas snoring, lazy bloke in front of the fire, while in fact loads of women and trans women get the presents together.
Those are blokes.
Yeah.
Sorry,
well, there's some real women and trans women, you know, blokes in dresses.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, this actress turns to the camera and goes, "And you thought he did all the work?" Yeah, well, he does do all the work, and you just made it up. That, you know, whoever ever said that, you know, the Santa's grotto was full of trans women?
Seeing as we've got on to Christmas here, it is that time of year when one might welcome some people to their house, Mike.
True. Yes, exactly right. There's nothing worse, in my view, than entertaining people at home, right? And I speak as somebody who not only doesn't like doing it, but also don't really enjoy going to other people's homes either, because the thing about being at home is that you can live the way you want to live. You know, you can get up in the middle of the night, you can go to the toilet, you don't have to worry about whether you have to put on a dressing gown or, you know, worry about somebody meeting you in the hallway.
Do you sleep naked then, Mike? Is that...
Depends on the time of year.
Yeah.
Also, if I get very drunk, if I get very drunk, I tend to take all my clothes off. I'm not quite sure why.
Oh,
I did
you're
once.
one of those, are you?
I did once, in fact.
But when you go to bed, or
no, just
hours before that.
In the pub.
While I'm asleep. No, while I'm asleep, I somehow do it.
I see.
Because I quite often will go to bed with a shirt on, you know, or some boxers.
Right.
Anyway, I was once
stripping.
Staying with a friend of mine once in Dorset in a very big
Graham.
house. I was telling Kevin this story earlier. Very good friend of mine. Luckily, I've known her for many years. And she had this big house with those 2 staircases, you know, which are always confusing to drunks in particular. And I got up in the middle of the night to go to the loo, and I couldn't find my way back to my room. So I sort of staggered around for a bit. Luckily, I didn't wander into her daughter's room, who was about 13 at the time, but I was completely naked.
Unlucky for some.
Yeah, and I walked into her room, however, where she was sleeping happily with her husband, and I suddenly was I sort of sleepwalked in there and was awoken by her going, "Michael!" in a very loud voice, and she was holding a dressing gown, which she then wrapped around me and said, "Your room is that way." But whenever I have people in my house, I'm always worried because... Not because I want to wander into their room, but because I might encounter them sometime in the middle of the night, because people's toiletry habits are different, you know. And if you've got a shared, you know, not necessarily en suite...
What about if Kev was alone
Well, I've
Christmas?
spent time in Kevin's house,
Mine
right?
as a house guest. Very good house guest.
I, for the last 3 years...
Did he remain clothed?
Yes.
Yeah, he did. He's a very good house guest.
He gives us a very nice room in the back of the house, and there's no problem at all. And then we see him in the morning, and that's fine as well. So there's been no episodes there because he's upstairs. He's got a lovely little bijou kind of, you know, Muse house, and there's no problem.
This is like a sort of synopsis for a 70s sitcom.
It is. It really is. And there's a Peloton actually in the room that he gives us, right? Yeah. Which I just put the clothes on it, you know.
Like everybody else.
That's mainly what it's used for.
He's also got lovely, you know, blinds, electronic blinds, which you can sometimes get confused about when you're a bit drunk. I mean, I know that it's going to sound like I spend most of my time drunk, which is unfair. But no, I just don't like people in the house. My sons will occasionally bring people home. And, you know, you can only tell by the number of shoes in the porch as to who's there and who isn't there.
Well, thank God they're in the porch.
And sometimes their mother will send me a message in the middle of the night to say, by the way, one of the boys has brought a girl home, so don't go wandering about naked, just in case it gets a bit embarrassing.
I mean, you've got form. I mean, people know you wander around naked.
I have.
I've got a little film here that is the top 4 annoying traits of a house guest.
And we've got the list topping what you could possibly do that could drive them crazy, and that is ask for their Wi-Fi password, not take their shoes off, so make sure you drop the shoes at the door, use a coaster, and some people forget to flush.
That's a bad thing, actually. The shoes is a big thing. A lot of people, you go to their house and they want you to take your shoes off as soon as you walk in the door.
Yeah,
now, he doesn't do that, so that's good. But I don't understand why people want to do that. You know, if you might have holes in your socks, it's a bit embarrassing. Yeah. I mean, why am I leaving my shoes at the front door?
I think it's a very passive-aggressive move. Could you take your shoes off?
Yes. Yeah. What else would you like me to do? I'll take my trousers off, shall I?
Well, you would.
In my case, yeah.
What's that crap about, you know, don't use a coaster? Real deal breaker, that, isn't it?
Also,
you take the coaster and shove it up your backside.
I mean, not so much now, because hardly anybody now smokes. And if they do, they certainly know they should go outside. Yeah. But, you know, my mother was an absolute avid smoker, and she refused to go outside. And quite frankly, she was 85 at the time.
You can't send her outside, can you?
The mother of my children would say, would you mind telling your mother to go outside? I'm like, it's in the middle of winter. It was like Christmas, you know. I'm not sending her outside. And she would stand by the door. It could be
a last Christmas.
And she would stand by the door, just literally smoking away. The smoke would be billowing in. People don't like it. You know, it's a problem. Just don't have guests. It's a lot easier. Go away. If you want to spend the night, get a hotel.
Yes. I mean, what's the old saying? Guests and fish, they both go off after 2 days.
That's true. Even before that, in my case.
Well, I mean, you just don't want them in the house.
I don't want them in the house, no.
But it's that whole thing of, you know, you've got to make a bed for them.
Yes.
And they don't
give them a towel.
You know, give them a towel.
Right. If they have an accident of some kind, like they spill something, it's a nightmare.
My wife treats it, if we have guests, she turns our place into the Ritz. Yeah. You know, sort of like ironing sheets.
Chocolates on the pillow.
Yeah, exactly, and piles of fluffy towels and all this kind of stuff.
I mean,
I think the most important thing with a guest, though, as you're very good at it, Mike, the worst thing about guests that stay in the night is the ones that don't quite know when to leave.
No,
yes.
Leave reasonably sharpish.
Yeah. Yes.
You know,
well, that's the Irish. Yeah. You know, because that whole saying, you know, oh, he did an Irish, he just left. Absolute rubbish. If you've got Irish people in your house...
They stay.
No, so when it comes to saying goodbye, right, they get up from the table and they stand around the table talking for about 10 minutes. Yeah. They then go into the hallway, talk for another 10 minutes, and then they're out in the driveway or on the porch, another 10 minutes out there. It takes them half an hour, 45 minutes to leave.
I had a 50th birthday party once in my sister's house in Connecticut, and lots of people that I knew who I hadn't seen for years came. And one particular couple... who was staying in a hotel, not staying in the house, came back the next morning after everybody had gone and hung around for another day. And I'm going...
exactly what you don't want,
just sitting there drinking all day. I'm going, when are you leaving?
It's exactly what you don't want.
I now, which I'm going to do on this, I just turn the lights out and go to bed.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well done.
So, clairvoyants.
I didn't see this one coming.
Very good.
I've got a little clip for that. You didn't see that coming, did you? No. Let's have a look at this.
Before you call another psychic line, it's crucial that you call the International Psychic Network.
Why do I attract Mr. Wrong?
You can meet Mr. Right.
When's my luck going to change?
Your luck can change. Love, money, success, happiness. What's in store for you? Learn all you can about your relationships, career, luck, and happiness. One call can help you achieve the happiness you deserve. You can improve your life today. Call now.
You can improve your life today by not calling this phone.
By the way, did you see the lady of colour there? She was very easily made happy. She's I've got money. She had about $5 in her hand.
No.
Absolutely
She'd need
thrilled.
more than that.
Oh, look, $5.
But, you know, when they do those shows, right, the whole thing is they sell out something like that, the Hammersmith Apollo, right? And when you're in the foyer before, they kind of take a while to let you in, and there are people wandering around going, so you want to get in touch with anyone tonight, do you? Yeah. Oh, I'd like to get in touch with my nan. Who would you like to get in touch? And then they take a Post-it note round and they hand it to them. And they go, oh, somebody's coming through now. Yeah. It's that and tarot card reading. It just preys on people's weakness.
Suspicions. Because people want to believe in something like that, though.
All right, Kev, what about unnecessary storm warnings?
Right, I'm going to say this with all due respect to everyone who suffered because of Storm Bert. By the way, good to see that finally a storm's got a nice British name.
That's a crap name, that.
Yeah, well, at least it's British.
No, it's not. How is it British?
Well, Bert's a British name.
Albert.
Bertram. Albert.
Well, I think you'll
find... What do you think that... What is Albert, then?
I think you'll find Queen Victoria's Prince Albert.
Oh, for sake, Albert is a British name.
Well, he wasn't British.
Are you saying Bert's not a British name?
British when she married the German
Albert
bloke.
is not necessarily
Bert.
British name.
It's called Storm Bert. It's not called Storm Albert.
Right, so...
what Bert is a British name?
I don't think it is.
What are you talking about?
Was there an unnecessary
warning?
Is
Bert a British name or not?
Well,
Why do you need to have
I think
proved
since
right?
she married the German, it then became...
What are you talking about?
Bertie.
I mean, it could be Bertrand.
Bertrand.
Bertram.
Bertrand. French
Bertram.
name. Yeah, French name.
It's a British name.
Anyway,
it's like Fred.
It's a lovely name.
It's a very.
for a storm.
It's like Stan or Fred.
Fred is a Brazilian footballer.
Yeah. Look, you're very grumpy, but can we just find out what you mean about
I think it's
unnecessary
about
storm warning?
Yeah.
Oh, but a Bert is a British name.
Right.
So, with all due
Burke.
respect to the people who suffered because of Storm Bert,
Yeah.
and it was pretty strong around the country, did a lot of damage. Some people died, and that's all very tragic. But in London, it wasn't much at all. It was a sort of slight breeze. It was quite windy,
Wasn't
I
out
suppose.
with me either.
And they closed all the parks: Hampstead Heath, Hyde Park, St James's Park, every single park.
Although they
in London.
can't actually.
Yeah. But
But remember that nobody remembers.
Look, you can climb over the f***ing fence. Obviously, it's a park.
I don't know why it's so.
You know, so they closed the park.
To do with the show.
Yeah.
Look,
Okay.
they put signs on the parks saying they're closed.
Is that like when they
which
closed
was-
the sea?
No. Did they close the parks or not?
Is it like when they closed the sea for Dominic Raab? Do you remember when he said the sea was closed?
No, it wasn't like that.
No.
It wasn't like that at all.
Okay.
So they
Just
closed the
checking.
parks for no apparent reason.
No.
There were some Finnish people, some tourists, who were absolutely pissing themselves laughing next to the gates to Hyde Park, going, but this is not a storm.
No.
And it feeds into this country's increasing risk-averse obsession with safety, high-vis safety. We're scared of our own shadow these days, and I just wonder when that happened to him. And we don't need to close parks when there's a slight breeze.
When did they open
Well,
them
I mean,
again?
we did.
I don't think they have yet.
They closed it for the whole weekend because
They did close it for the whole
I was in
weekend.
Sussex. It was very windy down there, right? I took the dogs to the beach on Saturday morning. Very windy. There was nobody coming over. People did say that Storm Bert had managed to stop more migrants coming across the channel than Keir Starmer had managed in 5 months. It was very, very windy. And I almost got hit by a cone when I was driving back up to London on Saturday afternoon.
And if it hadn't been for your high-performance vehicle, which is not a Jaguar...
No, it's not, thankfully.
You would have been
or electric. I did have a Jaguar. I did have a Jaguar for a while,
Anyway, the parks were closed all weekend.
We go back a couple of years,
Yeah.
I think we didn't take storms as seriously as
we
do
didn't.
now.
We didn't.
Let's have a look.
Good afternoon to you. Earlier on today, apparently, a woman rang the BBC and said she heard that there was a hurricane on the way. Well, if you're watching, don't worry, there isn't.
Worst gales in 3 centuries sweep through Britain.
The next morning, carnage, bedlam, trees uprooted, caravans flying through the sky.
Power lines were down, all the telegraph poles.
They came without warning in the early hours of the morning.
15 million trees were gone. I mean, half the forestation in southern England was just gone overnight.
A child,
Wow,
a
who was
childlike
Who was that awful
Julia
commentator?
Hartley-Brewer at the end.
Who was that dreadful woman?
Somebody about 11 years old who looks exactly like Julia Hartley-Brewer would look at 11.
Storm Julia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't had one of those, actually.
Yeah, that,
You see,
but
by the
doesn't
way-
that happen
by the
every
way- by
morning,
the way,
Storm
that was-
Julia?
That's a British name, that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Julia,
but
that's a very British
1987.
name.
It's not a British name, it's Spanish. 1987.
Can't let it go.
Julio.
Julio.
1987. We didn't name that storm, did we?
No.
Even though it was the worst storm we ever had.
It was a hurricane, wasn't
Well, they name hurricanes.
it?
Yeah,
They
never
do.
hurricane.
I remember.
Why do we name storms?
Because they think it gives it more resonance and it also makes you worry more. This is why. Because instead of just going, it's a bit stormy, they go, oh, here comes Storm Bert.
Yeah,
and then the
we've
next
given
one
it-
will begin.
Storm Diana.
Storm Charlie will be next,
Yeah,
right?
we've given
Which
it a
is bit like-
name.
we
We've given it a
like-
name.
Eh?
But we're going to move on to snobby shop assistants.
Yes. Snobby shop assistants.
Let's have a look at a clip first.
Let's do it.
Well, that's what the quack says, you know, horses for courses. Sorry, Simon, someone's just come into the shop. Look, if you're not going to buy that, off.
It's a bit like that, you know. I've been in several shops like that. There were 2 occasions where I encountered very snobby shop assistants. Once was actually in New York when I walked into a Versace shop in Madison Avenue, which I didn't really particularly necessarily want to buy anything from, but I walked in there and I just thought, I'll just have a poke around. And this guy was in there, and every shirt they had 2 collars. I don't know why, but it was a thing that they were doing at the time.
Double collaring.
So a double collar. And I said to him eventually, after him observing me from afar with obviously disdain, complete disdain, I said, have you got any shirts with only 1 collar?
Have you reminded Kev that he's waiting for something on Amazon there and he's texting to see where it is?
I don't know what he does on his phone. He does this a lot. You know, he can't concentrate on the show. It's only half an hour.
Just bored.
It's only half
I'm
an hour.
bored of you two
You'd
now.
think he'd be
You're
able
not
to
grumpy
just
enough.
leave the phone alone for half an hour.
Oh, he's putting up his texting finger at you.
It's a very British phone, though. He likes to talk about British things.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, this guy goes, no,
Spanish.
These are the current fashions, sir. Maybe it's not for you. And I was like, oh, really? Really? OK, then I said, well, fine. And also, they were about $500 each, you know, at a time when, you know, I didn't really have that kind of money.
So where was this again, Mike?
This was in Madison Avenue, New York.
Right.
And then the second time it happened to me was in Hugo Boss shop in Regent Street when I wanted to buy a...
SS uniform.
Yeah. I didn't want to buy an SS uniform.
Well, you had all those ones you got off Lemmy.
Got one of those.
Yeah.
But I wanted to buy a suit for some occasion or other. And I walked in, and once again, I was greeted with a very sullen-looking young man. Because upstairs they had the trendy stuff, right, which was sort of t-shirts and the new, not suited type stuff. And then downstairs was where the suits were. And every suit I looked at was a slim fit suit. And as you probably know,
was not your street.
It's not really for me, not really for me.
Excuse me, young man, do you have an overnourished section?
Yeah. Do you have a section for people who
generously
actually
proportioned
can't wear a slim fit suit? And I sort of looked at him and he looked at me and I said, have you got anything, that's not slim fit? He went, not really.
Yeah.
I said, well, you must have something, surely. I mean, surely if everything's slim fit, then it's not slim fit. It's just what you do then, isn't it? And he went, I'll see what I can find. And he came out with a couple of really, really horrible looking suits, right? Which I was never going to buy. And I said, why don't I take one of the slim fit suits and see if I can, maybe get a bigger one than my actual size, and maybe I could fit into like a bigger slim fit suit. He went, I don't think that would work. I said, look, I'm going to do this, and I'm now determined. So I was now determined to buy a slim fit size that was too big for me, which I was going to be able to get into. And of course, I couldn't get into it. I got into the changing room, and I was like trying to get my legs into it. And I came out, the sort of shirt was like, it's like this up here. He went, I don't think it's working for you. I said, no, I don't think it is it? And so I just left. And it was quite humiliating.
You've ever been shopping in Milan?
No.
In Milan, I mean, they are so snobbish.
They're so
unbelievable.
cool
When you walk into
there,
these stops, and into the shops, and they look at you like you're something the cat just dragged in, and they just stepped in
English.
or something.
There used to be a shop in Chelsea called Voyage, and you had to ring a door.
I remember that one.
Yes. And they would walk up to the glass door and they'd look you up and down like that, and then just go. And walk
it's like
back
a nightclub. Yeah. I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
But I couldn't help feeling like they were complete. There was some sort of front or con going on there because they just didn't.
I just think some people in the fashion industry are so snobbish. It's like you with your restaurant, sort of, vetting all the customers. That I don't know if I want you.
No, we don't do that. Right. Everyone's welcome at Home Slice Pizza.
Exactly
available all over London.
But
should you find yourself in the metropolis.
The other one, of course, is when you go to places which are not necessarily for clothes, but could be for perfume or something like that.
Perfume.
Well, if you are shopping for perfume, you could come to Harvey Nichols, where I've just opened a new restaurant.
That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah,
there's a lot of perfume sales there, but that's also a bit intimidating if you're...
Well, I don't like people squirting me.
No, I don't want that.
Would you like it? No, I don't want to smell. I already smell lovely.
Yes.
Don't layer me
also,
with something else.
Don't do it without my knowledge and or without my consent. But also, you'll go... I mean, I was in a different department store over the weekend buying some Christmas stuff. And bought quite a lot of stuff. And they said, would you like a bag? And I said, yes. And they went, that'll be 30 pence. And I went, I'm spending about 150 quid. Yeah. Why am I paying for a bag? What's wrong with you?
It's a bag for life, Mike.
No, it wasn't a bag for life. It was, in fact, and then, because I had so much stuff, they put it in the bag and she went, I better give you another one in case it doesn't hold. But she only charged me the 30p for one.
Oh, well.
What's that all about?
Treatment.
Now, let me ask you a separate question, gents. Ever been glamping?
Certainly not. Can't. He probably has. I bet you have.
No, I haven't been glamping.
Well, I have.
I've been camping.
And it.
Yeah.
All right. I don't get
it's
glamping.
It's still camping.
It's still camping.
It's still camping.
So when my son was about 8 years, it was a good 10, 15 years ago, we went off glamping as a family because it was something that people did.
Right.
It's pretty expensive, right?
Glastonbury?
No, it was on some farm.
But expensive, right?
Expensive, right? So it's like 400 quid a night to be in a tent, right? You've got to cook your own food over a wood stove, right? You don't have you don't have a shower. You've got like some sort of thing that, like a shower block.
No.
Oh,
so with other people.
So, but it had a. We improvised as a family because it had a wood-fired hot tub with it. So we just filled it up and we washed in that.
Okay.
It sounds horrendous.
It was horrible.
The thing is,
and cold.
Yeah.
In summer, freezing.
Right. Yeah. The thing is about people who run or own glamping sites is what they are is camping sites.
Yes.
But they get rid of the C and they put GL in front of the amping, and that is their excuse to charge.
I do not understand it. I've got a nice.
There's no such thing as glamorous camping.
No, but camping in general, no. But to con people out of some extra money because they've built something slightly more robust.
You don't have to crawl into it.
But you come back looking like you've done 3 oil changes on your own car because you've been unable to wash all weekend. Right. You stink of whatever you've cooked and you've frozen your arse off all weekend. So it's no to glamping, and that is all for this week. Big thanks to Mike and Kev, as ever, for being grumpy, argumentative, and quite frankly rude. But that's what we're here for.